Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
After sealing the pro title in Season 5 of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup, Roger Christensen would have to wait 671 days to return to the top step of the podium. It was last week at Spa, however, that the Valkyrie X-Type driver was able to end his brown run with a spectacular last lap maneuver on championship leader Gabriel Salomon. He'll be looking to make it consecutive wins tonight as the series heads to Sebring for round 8 of the championship. Welcome to Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Aaron Smith with Joshua Wilkie bringing you this stream on our YouTube channel. And Aaron, we head into a Sebring round off, I think maybe the best round of the championship at Spa, but it's back to the elimination races tonight rather than the 60-minute extended events.
Yeah, it's completely two opposites. We have the races last week where it's you got to be a bit patient, nurse the car throughout that entire race, and a lot of the drivers don't like it. You completely understand why. This car is not built for 60-minute races, but it makes it fun, it makes it entertaining, and it brings out the best in some of the drivers to face an unknown situation and still come out on top. And sure, Salomon, as we mentioned, just about missed out on a win, but still got second after not the best start of the race, where he fell to, I think, 6th. So he's doing really, really well this season, as we've seen so far. But it's back to normal tonight. The fun heat formats, which these guys love. Of course, me and Sam are well used to this by now. And, well, it's Sebring, one of the, I'd say, most favourite tracks by sim racers, I'd say. And both in real life, it's just university loved, I'd say. And I think the drivers are really, really going to enjoy the racing today.
Yeah, it's very popular, this one. So much history, and it is a real unique layout and proper old school circuit as well. Pennington goes to the top of the standings. We have had our AM drivers set lap times, we've had our Pro-Ams set lap times, and now we've got the pros, which do make up a good chunk of the field. About 40% of the drivers are pro drivers, so expect to see that board change a lot at the end of this session. Let's have a look at the championship standings at the moment going into this round, and with 3 rounds of the championship to go, it's looking like a pretty much a done deal for Gabriel Salomon. His chop score is very good, so even if he does have a bad round, he's still got a decent amount of points. It would need to go badly for him in the last 3 rounds, every single one of them, in order for someone else to get involved. But that fight for second place is looking competitive. Nolder being caught by Godestad, Thompson, Christiansen, and maybe even Hammer and Yanni as well by the end of the championship. In the Pro-Ams, this is the interesting one. We were writing off Luke Payton from perhaps the title, but he managed to recover a few points last time out, Aaron. He's lost the championship lead to Igor Kos, but he's only got 10 points to make up, which he could very much do tonight.
I'm gonna have to say I'm glad that's the case. I love this battle between these two. We've seen it race after race, and Pennington just had just the start to the race that he had was one of the worst that we've seen, and some of it wasn't even his fault. He just kept getting caught up in incidents. Obviously, the first one he had was that slowdown on lap 1, which is going to kill your race, but he managed to push through those 60 minutes. And let's not forget as well, Kos had an incident towards the end that wasn't his fault either, but still, these things can happen in a championship, and it's closed them down to 10 points. And as you say, it could swing either way today, but Pennington, as usual at the moment, has the pace advantage, but Kos just has that little bit more patience and consistency about him. And I can't wait to find out who's going to win out tonight.
I think the two of them have been the top two, maybe in that order, in every qualifying for about the last 5 or 6 events. They are absolutely, I mean, Joey Pedrick in the races can very much go up against them. So to Quatchup and Pereira, but in qualifying, Payton and Kos have been dominant. In the AMS, Gordon Marshall is quite comfortably ahead. He is now some 72 points clear of Thomas Asperg. Very unlikely that that one is going to change around. And in the teams, it's looking really close actually. So the teams is very, very competitive. We have got Valkyrie Excite with a good run of form recently. Got a Standing Christensen across top 2 in the qualifying last time out at Spa, and took the race win as well, along with a 3rd position. I believe they got ahead of Impulse with Outson Motorsport Black, still with a small chance in 3rd position. But let's go to qualifying, and a lot of the drivers I think doing a double warm-up lap, so you don't expect to see any big times coming in on the first attempts here. Well,
there's going to be a couple outliers. Yeah, I was going to say there's going to be a couple people who are just going to send it every single lap, and Madsen there, a 10th.5 off from Pennington. That's not a bad first lap from him, but as you say, some drivers going for a double warm-up, and this is where we're going to see the competitive lap times come out, and we're going to see the difference between the pros and the pro-ams. It's almost seems to be kind of a random gap each race. Sometimes they're very, very close, as Pennington, of course, got his pole a couple races back, and at times they can be a second off from the pros, and sometimes the pros can be nowhere near the pro-ams, especially Pennington and Kos. So it's a real dice roll with Pennington, especially. He's a good qualifier, but some of these pros over the last few rounds have really stepped up their game. And although the championship leader, Salomon, has never been that good of a qualifier, you can always count on him in the race to get a good start, apart from last week, and just be really good in the race, really patient, but aggressive at the same time. He's just got fantastic racecraft.
Fantastic to see a lot of the British drivers in this series take part in PEC GB, the basically PESC for British drivers. We actually only have 1 Brit. That's crazy. We have 1 Brit. No, we have 2 Brits. I nearly forgot about Nick Horn. But we only have 2 Brits. But one of them, Luke Payton, was in PEC GB at the weekend and won out of the amateur drivers, I believe. So Luke, not just doing well in this series, but also doing well in PEC. And I think he probably wins a few £100 by doing that. So best of luck for Luke there. He really is demonstrating that he's a very good driver. I'm looking at the standings, and for a bit he was behind Pete Bowman, who is a World Championship driver. That's how good Luke Payton is, and he's a Pro-Am in this series. It does demonstrate the quality of opponents in this series. Around the final corner, then goes Pedersen. Christensen goes to the top of the standings. He's looking for a 2nd consecutive front row start. But here comes the Outson Motorsport drivers. They will be very close to the top of the standings, I am sure. Pedersen to 7th. It is Salomon to 2nd, Wolfson to 3rd, and Jensen to 8th.
Not a bad first lap there from the Utzon cars. The usual Salomon and Wolfson doing good in qualifying, but Christensen, you have to say that the Valkyrie cars have been really stepped it up. And well, speak of the devil, there's Godestad going onto provisional pole as he did last week. And of course, the teamwork between Christensen and Godestad to get that pole at Spa was something to behold. It was an excellent session from them both to snatch pole away from Salomon, who was so close, but just couldn't beat these two. And well, not really much of a slipstream gain around here at Sebring today, but nevertheless, it's more about the driver than anything. Last week we had a completely different race session and qualifying in terms of that slipstream, but today it's just good old-fashioned drivers doing what they do best. And the Utzon cars, nice in formation as they head 4x4 all the way through this middle part of the track, which I've got to say is actually one of my most favorite parts in all of sim racing to drive. I really do enjoy this middle section of Sebring, especially Le Mans. When you get that part right, it's so nice, and I can imagine in these Porsche Cup cars it feels even better.
I think this is for me personally. I really struggle around this circuit, and I think there's the potential for me to really like it, but I find it really tricky. I think there's, with the way that the curbs work around this place, some of them you've got to hook the car onto, some of them you've got to avoid at all costs, and the narrowness of the circuit, you've got to be really intricate and precise with your inputs, and I never quite got it. But I do respect that it is an excellent circuit. Is this one. Sunset Bend, of course, got to get the right line, be comfortable over the bumps. I expect to see a few spins, especially when drivers are racing alongside one another around this part. And the Utzon drivers decided not to take a new set of tyres. They had a cool down lap on their lap 3, and now they're pushing again on this lap 4.
Yeah, these all four, I don't think we've seen all four of these guys like really close together on the track, but well, they're doing it now, and I've got to say it looks very professional between all of these, and well, I've got to say I quite like it. A little bit of a slipstream gain down the straight, but through pretty much the rest of the track there's not pretty much to be gained through the slipstream. It's very little, and like you said, this track is quite bumpy, especially that last corner. We're going to see couple spins, maybe some drivers going side by side. I can tell you from experience that on lap 1 or 2, that's probably going to be a prime overtaking opportunity into that last corner. And there's Jensen just going a little bit deep there into the hairpin, and that's definitely spoilt his lap, lost a few tenths to the cars in front. So not sure he's going to have enough time to do another lap, but 13th place is a little bit far off of where he'd want to be today.
Yes, he's ahead of a few of the pros, and then the AMs are absolutely rooted to the bottom. It's just Oysten Hereford and Emil Koopmans who are behind them, but Hereford and Koopmans have qualifying bans for incidents in previous races, so they'll be making their way up. A little bit of a change as well to the format tonight. Only the top 8 go through from each of the heats, and only the top 4 go through from the B final. So a bit more of a difficulty for some of these guys, potentially seeing that there are so many pros. It will be tougher than ever to get into the A final. Welcome to everyone on chat, by the way. Let us know who you are supporting. Already some Nick Horn supporters in chat. And Nick Horn asking as well, did anyone know that this used to be an airfield? And I'm not sure if Nick is being serious there, because obviously we know it's the first thing you get told about Sebring, and people ramble on about it constantly. And so I'm very unsure if Nick's being serious or not.
I'd have a guess that's British sarcasm. Just a guess. I think, as you said, that's like one of the first things you hear about this track. And I mean, to be fair, a lot of these older tracks, there's Jensen going for a spin into turn 1, but don't think he would have had enough time to go for another lap anyway. There's Christensen just improving on his lap time as well. Hersaug all the way down in 14th place. Some of these pros, I think, like you said, are just struggling a little bit with this track. It's very hit and miss. I've practiced it a lot. I quite like this track. I just really like the way it feels in that middle sector, and because I have practiced it a lot, I know which curbs to hit and which ones to avoid, like you mentioned. Nick Madsen going up to 7th place, just about inching ahead of Pennington and Koss. Pretty good performance by him. I see if Hersaug can improve on his qualifying position. I think he's going to be the last one to cross the line Is it going to be any better than
man.
15th? He improves on his time, but stays in 15th.
I mean, it's fairly close. He's only about 6/10 of a second off pole position, or 7/10 of a second off pole position, but way down the order. So it just looks like a very competitive field. It seems like we've got a rolling starts. Oh dear, this wasn't deliberate. This might be taking a while. We'll stick with it, but no standing starts for people tonight. We have got a rolling start instead, and we'll see how the drivers manage it. Unfortunately, Aaron, it means that we've got about 2 minutes, or well, like 4 minutes before every race to twiddle our thumbs.
Yeah, we just gotta pretend to know what we're talking about. We got 2 minutes to wait for the drivers to grid up, then probably about another 3 or 4 for them to get round. I think I'm right in saying this or Road America is the longest formation lap on iRacing. I think Road America is a bit longer. Not sure though. It's one of the two.
I reckon.
They're very, very long.
Well, we'll go through the grid for this first race. 16 drivers, and we have got Joe Vega Godestad on pole position once again. Gabriel Salomon in second position. There's Victor Wolfson in third. Nick Madsen lining up in fourth, and then Igor Kos lining up top of the Pro-Ams. In this race, at least, of course, Luke Pennington will be starting in fifth place himself in the Heat 2. Then it's Patrick Thompson, Joe Pedrick, Carl Friedrich Herzog, Corey Lazarus, Leon Erger, Aidan Young, Johan Palomino, Gordon Hogg, Simon Muldercleave, Simon Andre Livingston, and Oyston Hereford rounding out the 16 cars.
Yeah, very, very small grid, of course, in these little heat formats. It gives the amateur drivers just that little bit better of a chance as well to actually get through to the A final. I can speak from experience that back in the day when I first was doing Apex, I wasn't really thinking about the A finals. When you're that hot-headed in these heats, you just want to get right to the front. As a young driver, I think I was... Oh god, how old was I when I first did? I think I was like 15 when I first did an Apex championship. God, that makes me feel old. And yeah, as a young kid like that, you just want to be first constantly. You're not thinking about anything in the future. I think these guys are a little bit more mature than I was back then, but yeah, I just wanted to score as many points and drive as fast as I could. So I'm glad I've matured a little bit over the years.
Yes, yeah, it's important to get that balance correct, and this will be a tricky circuit, I think, to make moves on as well. Like, I think if they are going to get through the order, they are going to have to be fairly aggressive, and with how close it sort of seems tonight as well, that's even more so. And so I guess it's going to be this hairpin into the tight right-hander. Perhaps the best chance that the drivers have got, perhaps Sunset Bend might also be a good chance for the guys. But yeah, if in this heat, I can see the top maybe four or five drivers just staying in line a bit. We do have Nick Madsen, who is of course known as one of the most aggressive drivers in the series.
I mean, like we saw about a week ago with the prototypes, even some of the biggest drivers on the sim can make these little mistakes. Of course, the race leader last weekend, the prototypes, going over the bus stop at Watkins, crashed out. These little tiny mistakes can creep in, and we've seen it a couple times this season, especially during these heats. The A final, it tends to calm down a little bit, but these heat formats, people kind of have two different mentalities. Either they think it's their only chance to get into the A final, like some of the AMs might be thinking, or maybe some of these pros will just be thinking about the championship and how can I put myself in a better place into the A final. And well, I guess Salomon has a big enough lead that he thinks, why not? I may as well try and get into first place and see what I can do. He's got Godestad, who he was fighting with a little bit last week until the teamwork between him and Christensen came out and Christensen was able to eventually win that race. Valkyrie, unfortunately, with this heat format, I've only got one car in this first heat, so he'll have to do it all by himself. And, well, who's going to come out on top in this first heat? I'm not quite sure. We know how good Salomon can be, but Goddestad seems to have that lightning pace in that first few laps.
Yeah, he's always very good with his racecraft as well, and so if there is half an opportunity, you would back him to make it. We'll give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, Apex Racing Academy. Thanks to them for offering all these drivers a free month of their service just for signing up to the championship. And of course, do check out the Apex Racing Academy Daytona 24 offers. That means half price on a 12-month sub, and also free GT3 setups and track tutorials for Daytona 24 as well. So do go to apexracingac.com for more details on that. But here we go then for a slightly alternative race format starts. Joe Vegas Goddestad on the pole position. He controls the order and the green flag is out and we are away racing. It's a strong start for our P2 man, Gabriel Salomon, who might well be challenging the pole position driver into turn 1. The Outson just looking very racy going into turn 1. Ergo looking to get on the inside as well. Madsen just making some room for his rivals. There is a spin in the background, and that looks like it looks like Hawk and Erga having a poor start for the pair of them. Here comes Madsen going round the outside. He's up into second place with a monumental move. What a fantastic start for the former champion.
Yeah, Goddestad is an absolute mare on this opening lap, and it could get even worse for him. He has got Wolfson up his inside, and Wolfson might be trying to go for the overtake on Madsen as well. There's nothing Goddestad can do there. He's kind of just boxed in, has to back out of it, and has slipped down to 4th place. A really horrible start for the Valkyrie X-Hub driver, and he's also got the Apex Racing Academy driver of Thompson behind, who, as we know, can be very, very good as well. But Goddestad is trying to make a move around the outside. This is not often a place you see overtaking happen on this first lap, but it's just bunching up a little bit, and I think he's just about snuck ahead of Wolfson there. That was a good opportunistic move from Goddestad and managed to snatch back one place that he lost. But first down to 3rd is still not ideal, with a huge gap seemingly at the front that Salomon has already made.
Yeah, I looked away slightly with the chaos that was going on behind and totally missed the way that Salomon was able to quite easily just drive around Goddestad on turn 1, and then after that Goddestad just seemingly offline on every single corner and able to recover anything. So Pedrick up ahead of Koss now, so poor start for Koss, down 2 positions, and that would be, is that Hersag? No, it's Livingston who was spun in the background. Erga has gone back to the pits, so that will be the end of his chances, but just the top 8 managing to get through. So yeah, Lazarus currently the last man, but you're absolutely right about Salomon. Easily ahead, 1 second clear after 1 lap.
Well, we've seen Salomon do this before, but oftentimes his race pace has suffered a little bit, so expect that gap to maybe shrink down, but just depends how much stronger Salomon's made that. That's Petrick going for a spin into turn 1, and that is one of the many mistakes that we've talked about. There was a few cars as well going side by side up ahead, and this is Aiden Young and Hersaug as well. Young's also made a mistake. We're seeing a lot of mistakes coming out in these opening few laps. That is big damage for Aiden Young. He's got to be careful coming back on the track. But that's given an opportunity for some of the other drivers to gain a few points. And, well, if 2 more drivers make mistakes in that top 8, it could see Palomino or Moldecleve sneak up into the A final. And that is going to be huge for the Amateur Championship.
Well, let's get a replay of the first lap incident, which involved Leon Erga. And also, maybe Livingston, I think, as well involved. Everyone's just gonna... Oh, you know what? Erga did nothing wrong, and it was sort of Livingston maybe carrying a little bit too much speed, understeered slightly, and tapped Erga around, and I guess Erga had too much damage to continue. Yeah,
you're pretty much spot on there. Just way too much speed on that first lap. Those tyres are not really up to temperature at all. Sure, they had a formation lap, but still not quite ready for the full send into turn 1, and a little bit heavy on fuel as well compared to the likes of qualifying, so just maybe just a bit unpredictable into turn 1, and you saw there, just understeered completely, and that's one of those classic lap 1 incidents that tend to happen. But Here we go then. This is one of the moves I was talking about that could potentially happen. Nick Madsen has just suffered a little bit, but Goddestad thinking better of it at the moment and just sitting back and waiting for a better opportunity. It was a little bit too far back to go for it into the last corner, but he's got a nice slipstream down this main straight, but it's still just that tiny bit too far back, and it's just going to have to play this waiting game as well, as you see Salomon just sprint off into the distance.
Yeah, this one surely is pretty much over already into this first race, and of course that would be pole position for the A final, which would be a huge advantage. Goddestad just trying to recover, but ever so slightly a little bit wide, might just compromise his traction. And Madsen's not going to give this one up easily whatsoever. He's going to be defending it to every single corner. And so Madsen remains in that second place at the moment. Scandinavian domination up in the top 5, and even Hersag as well getting through. Remember, Herford started last, started in 16th place because he had a qualifying ban. So the fact that he's up in 9th is a success for him. And of course, even if he doesn't get through Herford, 9th place would be pole position for the B final. So it could still be a fairly good place to finish at this point.
Yeah, he's done well so far. Very good start for him. Up 7 places, as you're saying, and one mistake or one driver having a little bit of a bad lap, and anything can happen. Of course, these heat formats, it does mean it's fairly short, especially at a track like this. You're only going to get maximum about 5 laps. At a track like Sebring, we've got about 2 minutes per lap, so we're just coming towards the end of lap 3 here, onto lap 4. And, well, I say it's been a lot calmer than we're used to. Been a few incidents, but not really that much overtaking past lap 2 with these guys. It is a fairly difficult track to overtake at here, as especially in these types of cars. You're more likely to see overtaking in sort of the slower Formula, like Formula 4s. That's kind of where this track really does come alive. But in these faster Porsche Cup cars, it is quite difficult to follow, especially through corners like this. Turn 1 is super difficult to follow another car through. But like I said before, one tiny mistake, one little moment, and well, the guys behind are going to be pouncing at the opportunities to overtake you. And Madsen right now seems to just be a little bit of a bottleneck for everyone, from 2nd all the way down to about 5th.
And of course, we're watching Patrick Thompson at the moment, and he's sort of part of this bottleneck, and he had a bit of a weak qualifying to Thompson. I mean, he's been one of the most impressive drivers ever since he has been taking part in the series, as that is a huge lockup for Wolfson. And he's going to give up a couple of places there. And now there's contact as he rejoins, and he made contact with Corey Lazarus. I think both of them have avoided any contact, any damage there. But Wolfson, I don't think he necessarily did much wrong on the rejoin, but he's just locked a brake. Can't get the car stopped whatsoever. And of course, if you go straight on here and take the escape route, the slowdown is absolutely horrendous. But he's stayed as far to the left as he possibly can there. But it's such a narrow part of the circuit that contact was made.
I don't even think they made contact. I think Lazarus just got distracted by Wolfson coming back on the track. And from what I saw, he just lit up his rear tyres on the exit and nearly spun it himself. Either that or it was just giant netcode. And well, considering that Lazarus is in New Zealand, I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, there was a very awkward moment, and quite butt clenching as well for Wolfson, just locking up into that corner. It can be quite scary if you go all the way off, but he just managed to just about hold it onto the track. And that's another mistake. That's Goddestad going extremely wide around the final corner. But luckily, he had a good enough gap to Thompson behind after Wolfson made that mistake, and is able to keep on to 3rd place for now. And he's slowing down.
Is that he's got a slowdown, surely. He must have picked up a slowdown at the right-hander. The one before the back straight? Le Mans? Is it called Le Mans?
Well, that whole section,
yeah, because
around
you can
that
cut
section
the curb too much.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be why. It's quite difficult actually to actually get that slowdown. You have to be really far off, and Maybe to see in a replay again of what
Yeah,
happened to
here was
Wolfson.
was it contact? Ah, no, okay, no, it was just a slide. You were absolutely right, Aaron. No, I thought you made contact, but no, you were right. It was just a slide as he came across. Oh, Hereford has got ahead of Hersaug in the final lap of the race. He has done it. He's up 8 places. So the man who started last in the heat, it looks like he's going to go straight to the A final. However, there may have been contact between the two of them.
We're going to have to take a looky at what happened. This is one of the prime overtaking opportunities at this track into this hairpin. Let's see if there was any significant contact between them. It looks fairly clean so far. Still fairly clean, and I'd say that was completely clean. Would say that was a pretty good overtake there from Hereford, and well, just he's had some decent pace. It's not completely over. Hersaug is still there, and this could get very interesting heading into the final corner. If Hersaug can get a good enough exit, which he might have done. He's got the slipstream all the way down this straight, and of course Hereford is going to want to defend it like a lion, as he does not want to be part of that B final. He'll still have a good chance if he does get in it, but I think he's just run out of an opportunity here and goes very, very wide to try and get a good exit, but he's just picked up a bit of understeer in the middle of the corner, and I don't think it's going to be enough. But Gabriel Solomon, a very dominant victory for him in first place, just kind of pulled away from everyone and lost a little bit of time on that last lap, but very, very impressive. And well, it goes to show why he is leading the championship. And Hereford does manage to hold on in the end and just manages to squeeze through into the A final. And Hersaug has got a little bit of work to do in the B final. And well, that was a lot calmer than we're used to, I say, but still pretty good nonetheless.
Yeah, it all kicks off on lap 1, didn't it? That was sort of the deciding moment, and everyone was pretty much following in line after that, which I did think was a possibility, just with the layout of the circuit. We've been to some very quick circuits this season, some very long straights, and this is not one of those circuits. It's one of the more complex ones, so yeah, it was half to be expected. Let's have a look then at this Heat 2 grid. Roger Christiansen just gridding up there for Valkyrie X-Type. It's not going to be a Valkyrie X-Type driver on pole position for the A final, but they can get one car on the front row if Christiansen wins this race. Philip Hammer improved late in qualifying. He's up there in second place. It's Nicholas Nolder, second place in the championship, with Salomon winning out. His chances at that title are becoming less and less likely. Luke Pennington lines up in fourth position as the top Pro-Am driver. Then it's Lewis Balicki, Bogdan Moldovan, Mads Lund Jensen, Glenn Key, Michael Pedersen, and Albert Quattrop running at the top 10. Then it's top of the amateur drivers in qualifying, and top of them as well in this Heat 2 is Gordon Marshall. And it's Kim Andre Bjorklund, Nick Horn, and Andre Wedderburn making his debut in the series. Best of luck to him. And Emil Koopmans, who had a qualifying ban. He starts from 16th place with a daunting task on his hands.
Well, daunting it must be, but well, it was done in the first heat. Can it be done again in the second one? Of course, Koopmans is not a pro. He is a Pro-Am, and Koopmans has had an up and down season. He's had some good rounds, but has had a little bit of bad luck here and there, and we'll keep a close eye on him as this race goes on. Saw a lot of mistakes in that heat. Surprisingly, it was only 10 minutes long, but a lot of mistakes from the likes of Wolfson, of course, who lost a couple of positions, just managed to keep it on the track. Goddard making a couple mistakes as well, and a few crashes as well, just to sprinkle a little bit more chaos in there. Let's see if these drivers in this second heat will be a little bit more careful, or will it get even worse? We've got 10 minutes when they cross the line to find out, and see if a Valkyrie car can get on the front row into that A final. And well, if the Valkyrie cars can team up on the likes of Salomon, I think Gabriel's going to have a bit of a task on his hands in that final. And they made it difficult for him at Spa, but he managed to win out. My apologies, Valkyrie made it difficult for Gabriel, and Valkyrie managed to win. Can Gabriel get his revenge today? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a very much a possibility, and Salomon's sort of done the hard work. And Christensen really wants to be second in line because he's got to fight the Impulse Racing drivers in this race. Got a lot at stake for a few of these drivers. Luke Payton definitely has the most to lose and the most to gain as well, because of course he is going for the title. Igor Kos is his main championship rival, and Kos did all right in Heat 1, so yeah, he really does need to have a good points haul if he can possibly get it. Kos finishing in 5th place in Heat 1. So if Pennington can finish in the top 4 in this race, then he will start ahead of Kos. I guess that's got to be his aim, top 4, which, to be fair, is where he's starting, but he's got some very quick drivers behind him. Lewis Balicki, probably the number 1 of them.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of times this season that Pennington does seem to struggle a little bit more in the races, but maybe he's just managed to improve that as the season goes on. And hopefully he can score a good finish today for the Brits. And, well, holding on to 4th place as a Pro-Am would not be too shabby at all. But off the start is probably where he's going to face the most competition. As we saw in this first heat, it can be very, very competitive off the start in these rolling starts. And over the rest of the race, it's going to be very difficult to make up ground again. So wait and see what he can do from 4th.
So Christensen rounding them through Sunset Bend, and he launches very early there, and we are away racing for Heat 2 of the evening. Christensen up ahead of Hammer. Wasn't really a strong start for the guys on the odd row of the grid, even though Christensen had a very good launch himself. It's pretty much stayed the same in the top 5 so far. Lewis Balicki trying to get past Pennington through this first section. He might have a good chance there because Pennington's going to have to get early on the brakes. They leave each other some room. Moldovan in the background making a little bit of contact, but Pennington does hold on to that 4th position. Moldovan did lose that position to Jensen. That's the highest place change as the Impulse Racing drivers continue to chase down our race leader.
Koopmans from the back as well has already made up 2 places, so if he can keep up that progress, he'll be, well, up to 1st in no time. But it was a really good start from the likes of Christensen. Oh, that's a very big lock-up and a spinner there at the hairpin. I think that was Langberg who went all the way around, and I don't think there was any contact involved there. I just think that was lap 1 cold tyres in the Porsche Cup, and, well, that happened. Oh, here's Pennington still trying to defend from Lewis Balicki, and well, he's doing a pretty good job of it so far. Still managed to hold on to that 4th place. The gap is just opening up in front of him, but like I said, on this first lap, it's kind of your best opportunity to go for moves apart from any incidents or mistakes, and it's going to be tough for Balicki to get onto that 4th place ahead of Pennington, but Pennington just needs to keep it cool, keep it calm, and he should be able to hold on. But it's a good start from the Valkyrie X-Type driver of Christensen, and, well, Christensen basically did what Goddestad should have done in the first heat, and, well, got an absolutely blistering start. And Goddestad's got to take a few notes from his teammate.
Yeah, I think Salomon will probably take a few notes as well. He was pushing it though. Like, it was obviously it's an iRacing automated system. As there goes Balicki, he's already got past Pennington. So Pennington must have had a very poor exit from Le Mans, and Balicki easily passed him before they even got to Sunset Bend. So Pennington will be frustrated with that. It does mean that Kos would be starting ahead of him for the for the A final produce if it ended like this. Behind them, it's really starting to kick off. Key up to 7th place. He's got past Moldovan. That's a huge slide there. Moldovan might be able to return the favour. Looking behind them, dancing left and right is Pedersen. He fancies 1 place, maybe even 2 places here round the outside, and it's getting from bad to worse for Bogdan Moldovan. He's now down 3 places from his race start into 9th, and crucially outside of the advancing spots. And now he's in the wall.
Oh, that was a very weird one. I was about to say he's just got to keep it calm. Otherwise, well, it looked like he was just getting a little bit impatient there. And, well, unfortunately, a very weird incident there. I didn't quite catch what actually happened between them. But, yeah, I was just about to say that was a good move from Pedersen. And Moldovan tries to stick it up the inside. I think it was Quattro behind him. Might have made contact. It was. And that's an incident, again, I mentioned this last week, we've seen that a couple times, where it's just the rear of the car, when a car behind T-bones you, it can be very difficult to get out of it, and well, it's sort of, well, just sent Moldovan spinning around and into the wall, has given him a bit of damage and a very, very big task of trying to get back into the top 8, which from here on in seems almost impossible. But he's looking very, very twitchy in that Porsche Cup car, and I'd be surprised if he didn't lose a few more places. That Porsche car really does look near the end of its life.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's even able to continue driving, but every position is going to matter here because every position is 2 places on the grid for the B final. So he desperately needs them if he's going to get into there. Remember, top 8 get through from this race and into the A final, and the rest will have to race in the B final. We're right on board with Mads Lund Jensen, having a good time at the moment, up 1 place from his race start. And it's Lewis Balicki and Luke Payton. Balicki hasn't pulled away from Pennington since that move, which definitely seemed to be a mistake from Payton, who did not seem comfortable on that point of this race. Not looking particularly comfortable either is Balicki, who goes very wide at turn 1 and almost gave the British driver behind him half a chance at an overtake.
Yeah, considering we've sort of seen the Apex cars really near the front over these past few rounds, I think at Spa it kind of just, they struggled a little bit, and here today they seem to be struggling again. Where's Balicki all the way down in 4th place, where realistically usually he'd be fighting for a podium, but he's just about holding on to 4th place here, and you saw that mistake in turn 1, just about managed to keep it on, and Pennington tried to go for a move, but just was a little bit too far back to go for anything. And this is going to be an interesting battle between 4th, 5th and 6th. This could end in tears very easily for any one of these guys, but Pennington, like you said, really, really wants to start ahead, of course, in that A final. But is it sort of, you know, would you want to take that risk of just starting behind your rival or starting a lot further behind? You have to think about these things in a championship, and well, Pennington has got a lot on his mind right now, and with not long left to go in the championship, it's a huge weight on his shoulders, and it's going to have to be something he needs to deal with.
Yep. Yeah, as he's a little bit wide again. He's struggling round the Le Mans section, and this is going to leave him vulnerable to Jensen, who has got nothing to lose, and he is in the draft. Pennington half covers off the move. Could really force this one in Jensen by going on the inside, but instead he just decides to go on the outside. And now this is a very risky position for him to be on, potentially out on bits of the circuit that it hasn't been using. Tries to get underneath Pennington, has to get out of the throttle, however, and it looks like the British driver will survive, at least to the start-finish straight, but it's all over again for the very wide entrance of turn 1. Jensen trying to arc it as much as possible. I think Pennington has done enough here again, but he's just a little bit slow. Balicki taking an even wider line through turn 1 this time, and still Pennington cannot get away from the Outson driver behind. Now he can, but any hopes of battling the German up ahead have seemingly been dashed, at least for this heat.
Honestly, I love the way that these Porsche Cup cars go through that turn 1. It looks so fantastic. It's like they're just drifting the rear of the car through that corner. It looks amazing. And they somehow have still managed to keep it clean. Jensen there, just trying to go for a move into the hairpin, but nothing doing there. But actually, speaking of Pedersen, he's not too far behind these guys. He's just inside the top 8. And Pedersen could get involved soon if these guys keep on battling. But Jensen seemingly, at the moment, has to have the upper hand on pace, as Pennington's race pace just always seems to drop off a little bit. And you can see that he's just struggling. And like you said, Sam, that Le Mans section on the exit, he seems to just grab a little bit of understeer on the exit every single lap. And well, it cost him 4th place, and it could cost him another if he's not careful.
Yeah, let's see how he can cope with it this time. Never really an overtaking spot here. Of course, in multi-class you can do, and you can sometimes mug someone, to be fair, but he's just a little bit wide. Jensen not with a perfect exit himself, getting a bit too much wheel spin. But it's going to just be the same story all over again, and Key is catching up to these guys, Pedersen is catching up to these guys, and Quatchup needs something to happen in order to get into the top 8. For a moment, Jensen did get his nose ahead. But Payton, he's got a huge bit of oversteer, again some oversteer, and that's going to be the position lost this time. and it took a few mistakes for finally the wall to fall down, and it really is crumbling because Glen Key is the next to take advantage of the ailing runner-up in the Pro-Am Championship, and these are crucial points and crucial grid spots that he is losing right now.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. It just seems on the exit of Le Mans, he doesn't seem to use that inside curb like everyone else does, which is kind of how you used to take that corner, but I think everyone's realised that you can use those curbs. And well, he's just not figured that one out yet. And especially in these Porsche Cup cars, you can most of the time just launch it over curbs. This car is very much built for that type of thing. And well, compared to the likes of prototypes, where if you even think about going near a curb, you're already in a wall. So he just needs to remember that he can get that better exit. And well, he still has the opportunity to get past Glen Key, but at this corner around the outside, not really going to work for him. And nearly pushing him through Collier of turn 10. And we head towards Tower. Not really an overtaking opportunity either. And that's the problem with this middle part of the track. There's nowhere to overtake, really. It's sort of the first sector and the last sector where you kind of have your openings. And Pennington is really, really struggling now. And he has to remember that it can get worse for him. It could end in a crash. It could end with another place lost to Pedersen behind. But of course, he needs to make up for it. He's got one more opportunity. Can he get a good exit? He's hit the apex this time, but I just still don't think it's going to be quite good enough. This is the final run. This is white flag as well. Remember, Glen Key is going to have to defend the inside. Jensen has already ran off. That position has already gone. And Pedersen's going to look for the overtake as well. Pennington's gone very deep. He's taking the outside line, but that's the dirty line round there. That's not going to work for him. He's going to get a good exit, but he's lost another place to Pedersen, and that is going to sting. And we forgot to mention as well that Christensen has won this heat, but Pennington is going to be absolutely disappointed with that. He went all the way from 4th down to 8th in that race and just about made it through to the A final. He's got a lot of work to catch up to the likes of Koss in that final, and it's going to be an entertaining watch, but he's going to be kicking himself.
Top 7, all the pros. Moldovan, the one pro who did not make it through. No AMS getting through. Marshall will be lining up in 4th place, but well done to Roger Christensen. Back-to-back wins. We're not counting heats as like a proper race win. I think Christensen, I mentioned that 600-day drought between race wins. I think he may have won 1 or 2 heats in that time, but it was the overall race win that really these drivers are absolutely aiming for, scoring as many points as they possibly can. It is the A final where they score more points than the heats, and well, Christensen's given himself a chance at least at getting a 2nd consecutive race win, starting 2nd in the A final. But first, we've got to go through the B final, and at the head of this one is Carl Friedrich Herzog, who was so close to getting into the A final himself, lost out on 8th position on the last lap to Oyston Hereford. He's up ahead of Albert Quattrup. There's Johan Palomino, top of the AM drivers. Gordon Marshall, who's got through to the A final so many times this season, on several occasions being the only AM to do so. I think he will be looking to do the same again. Simon Muldercleave lines up in 5th position. Then is Emil Koopmans. Joe Pedrick, watch out for Pedrick, I think he will probably get through himself. Bjorkland, Horg, Moldovan, Young, Horn lines up in 12th place, then it's Livingston, Lamberg, Erger, who could be dangerous, and Wedderburn in 16th place. And only the top 4 get through into the A final. It's not the top 6, it's only the top 4. So
It's going to be interesting who can get into that A final, and we've got a couple drivers who are a little bit out of position. Pedrick, of course, Moldovan. You could say Koopmans is one of the drivers that's out of position. Erger all the way down in 15th place. Aidan Young as well with his incident in Heat 1. It's, well, we're going to have...
Who are you saying, Aaron? Like, he's... Because now that there's only 4 of them, there's a genuine chance we could actually get them all right. So who are you putting through to the A final from this?
Oh, God. I'm going to say Herzog, 1. I think he's going to storm off. I think he was quite unlucky to miss out. Just had a few incidents towards the end. Quattrup, I'm going to say. I'm going to say Koopmans and then Marshall. That's my predictions.
So I say Hersal, Quattrup, Koopmans and Marshall.
I
Okay.
don't think that Moldovan or Petrick will be able to get enough ground because from what we've seen today, it's very, very difficult to overtake. I don't think it's going to be easy.
Well, I'll go for... I'll get the... so I'll go for... How edgy am I going to be? I will go for... man. It's so tempting to go for Urga, lining up in 15th place. It's so tempting. Come on, Sam, take this seriously. Actually go for who you think is going to get through. I'll go for Moldovan, Pedrick, Marshall, and Quattrup. Hersal,
Okay.
Pulsitor won't make it through.
You think so? Okay, that's bold. Well, for one, he's rocking my number, so I'm already biased. But Hersal, I just think he was a bit unlucky. Quattrup as well has got good pace. We know that. I think not that much surprising is going to happen in these next 14 minutes, just because of the nature of how difficult it is to overtake around here. I think some of the drivers who are trying to come fill the field are going to be a bit impatient and make very risky moves. Some of them may work, some of them may not. So I'm just going to say that, yeah, Quattrup, Hersal, Marshall, and I think Koopmans will be able to get the best of the few drivers in front of him, Moldcleave and Panamino. And, well, it's a bit unfortunate we've got nothing to bet on this time. Last time we had some Stroopwafels. Now there's nothing on the line, so...
Oh, I miss those Stroopwafels. I wish I had them. Oh, man.
I love them.
They were really
Absolutely.
good. I only had a couple. Liam Sliptips, thank you for watching along. Liam, very much appreciate your attendance and your comments. Very much repeating the airfield thing as if we didn't know that's enough. Saying that B final is the final because it's the one that Nick Horn is in, which is something. Let's get Nick into the A final, right? Let's do this. He hasn't been to the A final so far this season, but he could do it. He could do it if something happens ahead. Nick's looking all right tonight. So we'll see. Carl Frederick Hersag, a Joe who I don't think is going to finish in this top 4. He is on pole position. He's in the best place he could be. He's now got control of the field, and another 12 minutes of racing here at Sebring is underway. Hersag with a good launch. Marshall's already got past Palomino. Great start as well, I think, for the red car on the inside. I think that's Moldcleave trying to make some progress right on the inside, but swooping round there was Gordon Marshall able to keep that third position, and that is a crucial place in these early stages. Behind a little bit of more racing with the Sim Racing Norway drivers trying to make progress. That's Kim Andre Bjorklund getting past Palomino. There's a spin, and it is Joey Pedrick round in these early stages, and Emil Koopmans round as well, and it looks like both of our predictions are not going to be correct.
Well, that lasted a total of 3 corners, so we good. Honestly, I feel like half the time we make predictions, we just end up jinxing the drivers, so it didn't end well for either of them. There's Moldovan and Young going wheel to wheel, both of them being generous with track limits, and both of them going 4 wheels onto the grass at one point, but still keeping it on the track and being just about within the rules. And that's Moldovan braking about as early as I've ever seen.
Maybe a
he's just
slowdown.
could possibly be a slowdown, actually, considering he was all 4 wheels off the track. But yeah, Young and Urga just managing to slip through. And you mentioned Urga. He's already up 6 places.
Yeah, should have gone with my gut.
You should have gone with him.
I mean, Moldovan, I'm going to get Surden wrong because Moldovan is a long way away right now. Moldovan, to be fair, actually is back to where he started. It's just there's been instance ahead of him, which, I mean, he should be up 3 places because Hawk had a poor start, Pedrick had a poor start, and Koopmans had a poor start. That's a 3-3-2 going to say. Is that Moldovan with a slowdown or just... No, I think he's going past his teammate, Bjorklund. So Bjorklund out 4 places. The Sim Racing Norway guys were really aggressive. They seem to be on the inside of both turn 1 and turn 2. And yeah, we're not holding back whatsoever. There's Nick Horn being overtaken by Urga and Moldovan. Urga now up 7 places. Moldovan up 1 place. If he can make the mistake, he's making a few too many mistakes as the Romanian at the moment. Erga with 4 more places to gain in order to get up there. I think the top 3 looking pretty good right now. Bjorklund in that 4th and Multicleve in 5th.
I think going with my top 3, it was smart, but that 4th prediction I knew would be the toughest. I was just like, oh, who's it going to be? Koopmans, Moldovan, maybe someone else? I don't know. And well, Koopmans is out of it, unfortunately. So we're going to have a quick look at what actually happened. I think it was Petrick being spun. I'm not sure if it was Koopmans or Moldovan who spun him around. We're going to take a look. I think it was just a little bit of a checkup, and it's that rear again. And just an unfortunate incident between them all. The car in front of Koopmans checked up, and it just left him with nowhere to go. It's not really anyone's fault. It was just lap 1 incidents, and really unfortunate for Koopmans. And one of my predictions out of the race. So not ideal. But luckily I didn't bet anything this time, so I got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I'm not getting any waffles, unfortunately. Langberg up to 13th place. Livingston going very slow. I wonder if he got a slowdown as well. He's only just ahead of Wedderburn. Now wonderful to have the Jamaican taking part in this series. I believe the only Caribbean driver in the championship. I think Kane Halliburton may have done this series before, though. He also hails from the nation of Jamaica, but yeah, not too many drivers from that part of the world taking part in the Porsche Cups. They're all Scandinavian instead. Moldovan trying to get past Erga. Is that a slowdown ahead for Palomino? It looks like it is. Palomino should stay ahead of these guys. And I think Moldovan actually picked up a stone as well. Moldovan's having an absolutely awful time of it. Erga now up to 7th place, so he's made up 1 more place now on this lap. And he's got 3.5 seconds to catch up to Bjorklund. It's going to be close between the two of them. I think, honestly, any one of Bjorklund, Multicleve, Young and Erga have a good shot at getting through here.
Oh, they've still got 3 seconds to catch up, which is quite a difficult task with only 10 minutes left. And Nick Korn, I believe, has just been overtaken by Petrick all the way down for 10th place. This is a pretty tight battle between Marshall and Quattrop. I'm really debating whether Marshall sometimes should be a pro. He's kind of like I used to be. I think you'll agree with me on this. He's kind of always been sort of between am and pro-am. He's kind of difficult to judge. And like you said, you literally made the pro-am because of me. So like, it's quite difficult to judge. But Marshall's got some pretty impressive pace right now.
Yeah, he will certainly be pro-am for next season. Well, Gordon Marshall is already up to 3.8k. Is Marshall. He's higher iRacing than me. I think when he started this season. Well, but the thing is, the ratings are so high. Like, I actually was reminded when Wedderburn signed up earlier today, as Petrick has got back past Hawk. Petrick's going up and down right now. Is like his position is a bit like one of those heartbeat graphs where it's going from oscillating from one extreme to the other.
Oh,
and
dear.
I think it might be flatlining now because he's in the wall. And that rounds off a pretty miserable B final for Joe Petrick. And a miserable day, frankly, as well, because his pace very much meant that he could have got into the A final straight from the heat, but issues at the start of both races, and he's out of contention.
Was it Petrick you predicted?
What?
Or was it
What?
Was it Petrick that you predicted to get
yeah. Well, I think predictors are strong words, and you know, sometimes words can be misconstrued.
It seems like I think it's good we both don't have a gambling addiction because we just lose so much money, honestly. But Koopmans is out, my prediction, and Petrick's your prediction's out.
I mean,
yeah.
3 from 4. I think if this was like the Grand National, you'd get your money back if this was the result. So
Just about.
You're not doing too bad. I'm having a bit of a nightmare. I said Quattrop and Marshall would get 3. But yeah, Erga's got... did I say Erga? I didn't go for Erga in the end, did I? No, Moldman's got to get up there. That's the other person that I anticipated. He's just crashed, so that's not going to happen, is it? Crikey.
Yeah, I mean, we've both had pretty bad predictions, but I think mine are just going a little bit better than yours. And let's just take a quick look at why it was all by himself. just completely lost it in the middle of that corner, and he's not had the best of days, has Moldovan, and well, I think it's best we stick to just commentating rather than
We'll
predicting, because
we'll
clearly
predict
we're
the
both
top four in
useless.
the A final, yeah, and
Oh
we'll
god.
see if we can get that right. I think that'll be easier. So let's see if we can do that.
I mean, I don't know if I want to risk jinxing any more drivers, because bear in mind there's still 7 minutes to go. So that's how Quattrop and Marshall could just disappear, and I will feel really terrible. And all of our bets will go out the window, and all of the people we predicted are the only people to crash. Who knows? It's completely unpredictable what can happen. And sometimes as a commentator, we really do feel like we have the power to jinx people. It's really weird. Only commentators know what I'm on about. It's very weird, but it's a power only we possess.
Anyone in the YouTube chat who is racing in the A final might just be watching the B final. I'm not quite sure. On the stream, do let us know if you'd like us to pick you for our top four, and we will do it. We promise. Still, it says top four. Aiden Young is catching up to these guys. So in terms of the times, Marshall a 3-0. Bjorklund 2.8, Mordecai 3.3, Young 2.6. So Young is 0.4 of a second faster than Marshall. He's 0.2 of a second faster than Bjorklund, and he's about 2 seconds behind Bjorklund. So if he, it might be that Mordecai helps Bjorklund get through to the A final here. Like Mordecai is in a fantastic position, where I think without Mordecai, Young might catch up to Bjorklund. But I think with Mordecleave there, he will be able to hold up Young, even if it's just by half a second, and that might be enough to save the 3-8 and get him in that 4th place.
This is going to be some Alpine level defending. Honestly, it's going to be tough for Aiden to try and gain 2 places at a track which is not the best at overtaking. But he's given it everything, and that's what we like to see. No giving up from the fiercely forward driver. And Erga is just lacking a little bit behind. He's not quite had the best pace in the world, but I'd say from last to 7th is still a pretty good result for him. And I believe that is the corner where everyone is struggling with the slowdown, along with this corner, the exit of Le Mans. And I am surprised people have been getting the slowdown. You do have to take a lot of the curbs to get the slowdown. You almost have to be experimenting with track limits or just pushing very, very hard. And this isn't a track you often think of with slowdowns. Slowdowns come to mind when you think of Monza, Le Mans, those types of tracks. Not really this. So I'm quite surprised people have been struggling with that today.
Yeah, we saw Palomino pick up one in this race, and yeah, several in the heats as well. Palomino now down in 8th position, 4th place out of the AM drivers. Another shout out, by the way, to another sponsor, VRS, providers of several types of hardware, whether that be their wheelbases, their wheel rim, or their pedals, used by many professional drivers, including Apex Racing Team, Coanda as well. All use the VRS equipment. So do check out vrs.racing or apexracingsim.com in order to get your VRS equipment. We really do recommend it. In particular, the pedals are pretty much loved by everyone who decides to purchase them. Moldovan still going. We still believe that he can make up 16 seconds in the remaining 2.5 minutes of this race. First up though, he's got to get past Langberg, and that is something that he's done. So now he's got to get past Horn, who I don't think Horn's got a B final top 10 so far this season. So hopefully Moldovan is going to be nice and let the British driver have it.
Well, we'll find out if Moldovan just wants to have those few extra points. His car is looking worse for wear, I think's the right way to describe it. The left side of his car is looking very scrapey. Pretty much all of the paint on that side of the car is gone. It's looking almost like a barn find at this point, but he's catching Nick Horn very, very quickly. I think Nick is just strolling along at the moment. Got a good gap in front, and well, let's see how nice Moldovan is going to be. Is he going to pick up another slowdown through this Le Mans section, as he has done, I think, twice already in this race, let alone over the course of today. But Nikon getting a decent exit there, and Moldovan will not have an opportunity this time round to go for the overtake. But I just want to say it's been a rather calm B final actually now, especially for the top four. It's been going on a little bit behind with the likes of Pedrick and Koopmans, but for the top four, it might heat up now between Kotchup and Marshall. But so far, it's been boring. Is the right
Yeah,
word,
I mean, I
guess?
think it's a fair adjective. I think when you were saying that, I was seeing the top two gap go down to red and 2/10 to a second. I was thinking, something's about to kick off here. But Marshall wasn't quite close enough to get past Quatchup. But Marshall will really push it. No points, of course, if you get through to the A final. It's just a position on the grid, and that position would be 18th versus 19th. So it doesn't really make a big difference. Liam Slipdiff saying Alpen? Question mark. And I think that's a cereal. In case people didn't understand the Alpine reference, I assume you're thinking back to as Malton almost moves up to 10th place. But I assume you're referring to the 2021 defense of Alonso against Hamilton when Ocon won. I assume that's the reference.
Yes, indeed. That was one of the defensive moves of all time. I to this day, I still don't quite know how Alonso kept Hamilton back for that long, but is how Moldovan managed to get past Nick Horner, or nearly got past, as it took a little bit for him to do it. Nick Horner breaking fairly early, but defending the inside there, going very deep into that corner.
A bit of a block there. I mean,
Yeah.
MotoGP drivers would be proud of that one. Just hesitating on the turn in and just not giving him the apex. But Moldovan's come back for more. And so too as Marshall on Quatchup. And Marshall, after a long time waiting, looks like he's going to get it done at the very last corner of the race. Herzog is going to take the race win and 17th on the grid for the A final. Marshall is trying to stay ahead of Quatchup, but it's going to be very close across the line because Quatchup got a way better exit, and he didn't quite do it. Our timing board is saying different to what the iRacing is saying, but I believe Marshall did finish in second position. We will have to confirm that in a bit. Bjorklund rounds out the top four and gets through, and Moldovan did manage to pass Horn for 10th position on the last lap.
Bjorklund is, oh my god, that was a big one. I'm not sure who that was who just went full speed into turn one. And well, let's just say we're glad we're in sim, and let's hope drivers don't start doing that in real life. But yeah, Bjorklund there, I don't know if he's been in an A final before. I'm not sure. But
good question.
Because that might be his first one. Hence why he was doing donuts in turn one. So that could be very much why. But I got to say, I am impressed with Marshall's pace towards the end. And Quatchup, who we know has been had some good pace in the Pro-Ams, managed to go toe-to-toe and actually ended up winning. So fair play to Gordon Marshall. And if we do another season of these Porsche Cups and he is in a Pro-Am, well, who knows what he is going to be able to do. I was really, really impressed with that, and just about managed to hold on for second.
Yeah, let's have a quick overview of those results with of course Herzog winning out ahead of Marshall, and yeah, of course a terrific result for Quatchup as well to finish in that third position. Whilst he did lose the place later on, I think he'll still be fairly satisfied with that result. Then it's Bjorklund, who I'm trying to look back now at the Aragon race, which is his highest scoring result so far. I think Bjorklund got into the A final at Aragon, and I can confirm he did. He did get into the A final at Aragon. I think he may have even won out of the AMs actually at Aragon. So yes, he did. So yes, but this still could be his best result. Best result so far this season, 17th in the A final, so he could go better than that. Then it was Mordecleve, Young, Ergo, Palomino, Org, Moldovan, Horn, with maybe his best result of the season, I think. Langberg, Livingston, Wedderburn, Pedrick, and Koopmans. I think the drivers have lost their minds, Aaron. They're all doing donuts. They're all crashing at the end of Heat 2. I think as the season's gone on, their brains have been decaying.
I was just about to say, like, some drivers use this practice as an opportunity to, do a few extra laps, but no, these guys just want to just do this. I don't blame them. Why not? Especially for the likes of Bjorklund and one of the Valkyrie cars has just decided to join in. it's quite poetic actually, seeing all of these guys bond together over pretend race car. So yeah, it's lovely to see. And wow, Bjorklund seems to be very, very happy getting into the A final again.
The Insum chat is absolutely crazy at the moment, with I think them doing their own commentary so far on all the races. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what's going on with the A final, but I think everyone's getting on with one another, which is quite nice and sometimes a bit of a rarity. So yeah, these are nice. I mean, this is warm up, people. This is warm up, and this is what they're doing. I mean, I don't think they're feeling particularly tense, are they? I don't think they're, shaking with nerves going into this A final. I think they're quite laid back and just quite ready to have an 18-minute race to decide this one. So let's see if that has worked. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that as well after the checkered flag. Let's go through the grid then for this A final. And it's another pole position for Gabriel Salomon, who I think this would be his 4th A final race victory of the season. Roger Christensen lines up in 2nd place. Then it's Nick Madsen, who got a fantastic start in race 1. Watch out for him on lap 1. Then it is Philip Hammer, who's in good form tonight. Patrick Thompson, Nicholas Nold, Joe Vegard, Godestad and Lewis Balicki. Igor Kos is top of the Pro-Am drivers. He'd love to finish in that 9th position. I think he'd take that with both hands if you offered to him right now. Jensen's looking good tonight. He's lined us up in 10th place, so to his teammate Wolfson. He in 12th position. And it's another Pro-Am driver, Corey Lazarus. Michael Pedersen in 14th place. Oyson Hereford in 15th. Luke Pennington has got to be making up moves, otherwise he's going to come into the final 2 rounds with a heavy deficit in 16th place. Hersaug will be delighted to be as high up as 17th. Then it's Marshall, Quatchup and Bjorklund in the 20th place and making up 2 of the AM drivers.
Well, we've had a fairly... It's been a bit out of the ordinary, I'd say, for Porsche Cup. We're used to a lot of chaos, overtaking and whatnot, but today it's just been a little bit calmer. Sebring is often like that. It's a bit of a weird one. It's a fantastic track, but for overtaking and racing, it usually you come to this track more for endurance. In the prototypes you're used to seeing, of course, the Sebring 12 hours. Overtaking around here is usually about strategy more than actual on-track pace, and yeah, it's a difficult one to overtake as the sun sets in the distance. It's going to be difficult to see who can make the best overtakes today, and well, to make the overtakes around here, sometimes you just got to think, why not? I've got nothing to lose, so let's just go for it. Let's just send it around the outside and see what happens. As we've seen a few times today, some very risky moves, and sometimes they end up better than others. And well, Gabriel Salomon is definitely going to be wanting revenge on Christensen. And well, if this is a rivalry that's going to brew, it could happen. It started last week, and well, it could. This is part 2 of the Christensen versus Salomon battle. Of course, we had a 60-minute race last week, and a little bit shorter, 18 minutes this time round. But I'm really intrigued to see who's going to win out between those two.
Yeah, and Salomon was quite regretful, wasn't he, last time out about losing that position? He felt quite frustrated about not getting the race win. So yeah, I think he'll be quite keen to fix that this time round. Nick Korn asking if it's Daytona that I don't like. Yes, that is true. The short clip, the YouTube short that we have of me slagging off Daytona from about 15 months ago, it's up to 5,000 views. Feel free to go on that, like it, argue with the people who shout at me in the comments, and yeah, do check that out. But yeah, not a fan of it, honestly. So yeah, I will not be taking part in the 24 hours this weekend. I've won Daytona, and I don't really plan on doing too many more races there.
Well, I will be partaking in the Daytona 24 hours this week, and I've never really had that good luck there, so hoping to turn that around. My pace is looking good, so here's hoping that we can have a good race. And of course, it's only the second year that we've had the prototypes at Daytona, which is very exciting. Last year it was just the BMW. Now we have the whole grid.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, we've had 3 cars since the last Daytona. Very weird.
It feels like forever, that, particularly that we had the Caddy. But yeah, it was just, I guess it was March, perhaps, that it was added, maybe even later than that. So yeah, I think it was maybe in June, actually. So yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
but it's just Porsche Cups for tonight, and we've got 18 minutes to decide who's going to take the 8th round of the championship, and it's Gabriel Salomon controlling the field. Christensen is pretty high up at the moment. Now Salomon puts his foot down. It's a strong start for Christensen. He's keeping in tow, and Madsen is not going to be able to take advantage. If anything, it might be Hammer with the outside line, might be able to get into a bit of clean air, who will have a chance. Madsen sends it on Christensen, who's left himself a bit vulnerable, and it could be the second race in a row that Madsen manages to get past one of the Valkyrie X-Type drivers at turn 1. Salomon will go through turn 2 with a clean run, but everyone else is double file behind, and I think it might be the season 1 champion who eventually is able to get past the season 5 champion, but it doesn't quite happen. Madsen's trying to cover off every single direction, but he's going to have to let a few of these drivers go. But now there's a spin for him. He manages to get back in the right way. Now he makes contact with one of the Apex Racing Academy drivers. Another driver has gone off up ahead, and the drivers are just spraying to survive. It was Lewis Balicki who was in the wall, and frankly, we're very fortunate not to have anyone else.
I was just about to say that could have been absolutely massive, and well, luckily only one car actually managed to get involved. Gabriel Gordon Marshall has made up some ground as well. He's overtaking Hereford and Quatchup as well. But Salomon has gotten another fantastic start. But honestly, that crash at the start with Lewis Balicki and Madsen and all of those, that was just really weird. It was contact after contact. Madsen with a little bit of a mistake as well. Looked like he got the move done, but just lit up the rear tyres. And it could about to get worse for him. He's got 2 cars all over his rear bumper. And, well, Madsen's had a very chaotic start, has spun pretty much twice, and somehow is still in 8th place.
I thought he was out. I thought he was at the back. And then you were saying, oh, no, he's doing all right. He's 8th. So, some big defense as well from Quatchup in the background. He's battling, I think, with, is that Hersaug or... yeah, it is Hersaug. Madsen's still defending for 8th position. Costa's around these drivers. It's not been a good start for Igor Costa. He's down 1 place. Meanwhile, Pennington is up 4 places. Pennington has got his championship rival in sights in the top 2 in the Pro-Ams. I've only got 1 car between them as it stands, as they continue to race as we go on to lap 2 of this event. Madsen's going to try to get underneath one of the Outson drivers. I think he might have to play second best, but this is all carbon copy of what happened on the last lap. Meanwhile, Koss behind is up into 9th position.
Yeah, Costa's got to be a little bit careful, though. As you mentioned, he's got Pennington not too far behind, but at the moment, Koss has scored more points this round so far, so has extended his lead at the top just by a little bit, but has to make sure that he doesn't lose any more points in this last race to Pennington. And, well, he could get involved with this Madsen and Jensen fight if they're not careful. He's got Wolfson trying to go around the outside of him. Madsen is just letting Jensen... Excuse me, oh my god, Jensen go through. It's so chaotic, my lungs can't even keep up, but Koss has lost another place, could lose another one to Pedersen, and Pennington is going to want to snatch anything that he can up in the background. There's Madsen trying to go again round the outside, not much room for him, but just keeps it on the track. And there's big contacts, and that's Koss.
Oh, he's made contact with Koss. Pennington's able to get
Pennington goes right through, and that is huge for the championship. Absolutely massive. I was seeing them both go off into the wall and saw Koss was in pretty much target range, and unfortunately was one of the biggest losers out of that and is slipping down the order. And that is what can happen in a championship, and it wasn't anyone's fault. And well, they were just racing hard. Is this another incident with the rear of the car? It was, and oh my god. Yeah. That is absolutely terrifying.
The moment I saw they made the slightest bit of contact, it was inevitable that other drivers were getting involved. There's a 0 run off there. And I'm curious as to, was it Madsen who was understeering there, or was it just a slightly too tight line from the Outson driver of, I think it was Jensen who was battling alongside. I don't know. Stewards will have a look at it. I feel like potentially Madsen should have been leaving a bit more space on the outside, considering the nature of that corner and considering that risk, which happens often at this circuit. Nolde versus Goddestad is kicking off a 4th position. It's like Nolde has kept that position against Goddestad, and Pennington now up to 7th place. And if it ended like this, Pennington, I think, would take the lead of the championship.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Just these things can happen in an instant. It can swing either way. And of course, Koss was an innocent bystander in that. Absolutely nothing he could have done. Happened last week as well, where he lost a few places because of an incident on the last lap. So just really unfortunate luck for Koss. And yeah, Nold and Goddestad still going through side by side by the looks of it on our timing screens. And well, this should be good at the place where we had an incident on the previous lap, and Nolde's trying to do the over-under on Goddestad. That's a pretty impressive move, but I think he's just left himself vulnerable on the apex. He's got his teammate behind of Hammer as well. Is Hammer going to try and help his teammate wherever he can? It's going to be difficult right at the back, and he's going to back out of it and just let Nolde get on with it, which he gets past Goddestad, and now they've got the long Ullman straights all the way to the last corner. Going to be a slipstream fest as Goddestad planting his foot down, sticking the back end out and just about getting a good exit and staying ahead of Hammer. And this should be good going on to the last corner. You can see in the back as well, Pennington trying to break the slipstream from Glen Key as Nolde goes into the corner in 4th. A little bit of contact between them two. Goddestad trying to go around the outside. We've seen that line not really work at all today, unfortunately. It's just a little bit too dirty on that side of the track. Is Nolde going to defend the inside? He does a little bit, moves a bit last minute. And Hammer is probably absolutely purring himself watching his teammate go wheel to wheel with Goddestad as Goddestad tries to get the over and under. And this is Bjorklund as well, fighting with Hereford. A Quadrup, actually. Sorry, this is for 10th place. And Quadrup just about holding on. And Bjorklund, getting into his 2nd A final, is having absolute he's having a great time. He's trying to get up into 10th as this battle resumes for 4th place. And Hammer is really desperate to get involved, but does not want to risk anything against his teammate.
They're 3 wide going into the hairpin. Philip, Philip was never going to make the corner. He tried to turn in, and there were 2 cars there, and that part of the circuit is ever so narrow. He was never going to make it around, but really respectful driving. Nolde and Goddestad, 2 veterans of this car. Hammer very much becoming accustomed to it as well. They've had plenty of battles against one another, and 2 of the fairest drivers on track. Quatchup was able to stay ahead of Bjorklund in all that. Hereford catching up, and Hereford actually getting past Bjorklund as well, and it's going a bit negatively now for Bjorklund. They're all making a beeline to the inside of the circuit. They're all going painfully slowly, and Bjorklund actually might be able to make up 1 or 2 of those positions up again. Marshall in amongst these drivers. He can see another amateur race victory coming his way potentially. Needs to not be too late on the brakes, otherwise he'll make contact with Hereford up ahead. He started right from the back, didn't even do qualifying, did Hereford, and look how well he's doing now, fighting for P11, and they'll remain alongside, and Hersaug is only just behind these guys along with Wolfson.
Honestly, we've had 3 races today where not really much has happened, and this is just the polar opposite. It's constant wheel-to-wheel action, and while I'm not complaining, it's absolutely fantastic to watch. And this is just, I believe, for 11th place, as Quatchup has just managed to extend the gap up in front. Gordon Marshall, of course, wants to take as many points away from the amateur of Bjorklund as he can. The Nolde and Goddestad battle still going on with Hammer in there as well. In the background, there's Glen Key just closing in on Pennington. Goddestad trying desperately to get past, but they just got to be a bit careful. We've seen how the contact from the front bumper to rear bumper can end at the start of this race, and Goddestad seems to have gotten a good exit. He's got the inside line, but has Philip Hammer behind him. A little bit of an aggressive wiggle there. Are they nearly 3 wide? I think Hammer's just sticking behind, but Nolde is very, very brave on the brakes. He might even be able to get this done round the outside. just about still there. He's gotten the better exit. I think might be able to sneak ahead of Godestad, but they're still side by side. They've been side by side for about half a lap now. Godestad is going to have to be super brave on the brakes here into turn 10, with Hammer still just having a front row seat of this whole thing. Bit of contact between them two, but I think Nold has just about gotten ahead now. Godestad going a bit wide, and this just has to calm down now for a few corners. As look at Pennington and Key, they've caught right up to this battle, as it's 7 seconds between fourth and third. That's how hard they've been racing.
Yeah, absolutely furious racing so far between those guys. There's so much battling out there that a lot of the lap times are very slow because the drivers are spending half the lap alongside one another. So not just this battle, but then also that battle with Quatchup and Hereford, Wolfson and Co. To the point where guys like Geiger Cross, who've had to make a pit stop, are catching up to those drivers at 3 seconds a lap at the moment. But this one is the most competitive of them, and top 3 as well, fairly close to one another. So we'll keep an eye out on whether any of the Scandinavians in the top 3 do make any changes. But Nolde making a slight break for it now. He's about 0.4 of a second clear of the rest. And here is the top 3. And Salomon just 0.4 of a second clear. He was actually a 1/10 of a second faster that last time round than Roger Christiansen. It was actually Thompson, the fastest of all 3 of them. Thompson, who didn't exactly start tonight especially quick, didn't set a fantastic qualifying time, but he has really got fast as tonight has gone on. Hammer, meanwhile, has had a bit of a poor lap. He's lost out to Pennington, and now he's lost out to Key.
Well, that's just getting even better for Pennington, as he's gained another place. It's 11 places between Pennington and Koss. That's nearly what it was at the start of this race. I think Koss was 9th and Pennington was all the way down in 16th. And, well, it's completely switched on his head. And like I said before, that can happen in a championship as chaotic as this. And, well, it's going to make for an absolutely fantastic last round. And, well, if it stays like this, it's going to be super, super close between those two. And I cannot wait for it if it stays like this. So let's hope I haven't jinxed him just yet. As Hammer just trying to get past Lazarus. And Lazarus has been a bit silent this race, actually. But has managed to gain 5 places. So it's just kept it clean. Not necessarily been the quickest, but just kept it clean, kept it on the road. As everyone else really experimenting with track limits. And Hammer has not had the best start. He's 5 places down from where he started. Really not ideal from him, especially on this lap where he made that mistake. And yeah, it's just starting to calm down a little bit now as the gaps just start to even out. But towards the end of this race, the battle for the top 3 and the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th could open up all over again. And well, we can take a couple minutes to just breathe, because that was very, very difficult to keep up with.
It sure was. And of course we've got I'm really pleased with the way that the Pro-Am Championship is going on, is how the schedule has been put together, because we've got next week at Road America, which is our last elimination heat format, and then of course at Imola we will have the B format, the return of the B format, and the 60-minute race. There is a very real potential that Pennington and Koss, it might be whoever finishes ahead at Road America, will win the championship, which is easy for us to figure out. So let's hope that they are even on points after Road America. I think if it ended like this, Pennington would be about 10 points clear, 5 points clear back maybe. After going into this round 10 points behind, and of course losing points in this heat, but way ahead of Koss, who, whilst he is rapidly catching up to the drivers ahead as Koss, he's not going to catch in time in order to make any positions up. In fact, Gordon Marshall is quite detached now from that pack ahead in 16th place. I think he had a spin earlier on in the event, but we still wait to see if Christiansen can do the same to what he did to Salomon 1 week ago, where he passed the Norwegian driver on the last, the Danish driver, apologies, on the last lap of the race. No sign of it so far in this A final.
Oh my God, there's a Nold really going wide at that corner, and Godestad opens it up and tries to go for a move, but I think he's just left it a little bit too late to go for it and kind of messed it up, but managed to gain a couple tenths back on Nicholas Nold. And this battle's definitely going to go all the way to the end. You got one Valkyrie car trying to go for the win and another one trying to go for 4th. And it could have been very different for Godestad, but just really didn't have the best first heat, unfortunately for him. but still can gain a couple places. I mean, the gap between third and fourth, how much they battled is actually incredible. It's 7.5 seconds as Nicholas Snow goes to defend towards the inside again. And, well, he's going to keep the place, but around the outside doesn't really seem to work. But he'll get the better exit, Will Goddestad. And that's going to give him a good opportunity to go for it into turn one. Surely Nicholas Nold is going to have to defend towards the inside, but it will pinch him on the inside of the corner. And Will Goddestad try and do the over-under on Nicholas Nold, but just that mid-corner understeer gets him a little bit. He's got the inside line, which is what you want for these next few corners. And can he finally get past Nicholas Nold? But Nold round the outside, absolutely fantastic line through there. Manages to hold on and drifting his way through turn 5. That was incredible. 2 wheels off on the ground, and Pennington's thinking, oh, I'm going to have a bit of this. But Pennington has a championship to think about. He just needs to be a bit sensible here and doesn't want to make any silly moves, as Goddestad and Nold don't really have anything to lose for 4th place. So, you know, Pennington saw what happened to Koss. It could easily happen to him, and he's just got to play it safe. And if he has to give up a place to Glenn Key, then so be it. He will still be leading, but Goddestad still trying to get past Nicholas Nold. Nicholas Nold has definitely taken some advice from Gabriel Salomon in these early stages, as he's defending super well against his rival. Goddestad can do absolutely nothing. He's drifting it through turn 10, through turn 13, apologies. But wow, that's some really good racing from both of them. But Goddestad just, it seems like there's nothing he can do.
No, and I don't think he's ever got ahead as Goddestad, like not properly, and yet every single time it seems like it's like a 50-50, that they're going into the corners fairly evenly, and yet every single time he's winning out. Pennington has left himself vulnerable against Glenn Key. Glenn Key having a good time of it at the moment. He's up 5 places from his race start. He's going to try to be up 6 in just a moment. Pennington will want these extra couple of points if he can possibly get them, but this is a lot of speed carried in by the Norwegian driver. Let's see if he can get it stopped, if he can get on the power early as well. Doesn't look like the best exit ever. Uses that little bit of banking just on the outside of Sunset Bend, and as the white flag is waved, Pennington might just be losing a place here, but Pennington is carrying a lot more speed on corner entry into turn 1. He isn't able to keep the mid corner speed up, however, and Key gets up into 6th place, and that would be one of his best results of the season. Up ahead of him, still the same order for Nolder and Goddestad. Salomon still looking safe out in the lead.
Just on board there for like a few seconds with Glenn Key. It looks like he's really struggling with those tyres. He's maybe pushed it a bit too hard, and of course this is the final lap, so you basically want absolutely nothing left on the tyre. So he's going to be pushing to keep onto that 6th place, but I'd be very surprised if Pennington went for a move unless it was completely obvious, as it's a lot of risk. And sure, it's more points, but he's been given a golden opportunity to get ahead of his championship rival, and I think he just needs to remember that, just to take it, because that doesn't happen often. And I think it's Koss's first real incident of the season, apart from last week.
He's been so consistent, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he just needs to remember that. He's got to take it with both arms and just hold on to it. Of course, we've got 2 rounds left, so anything can happen next week and anything can happen in the last race, but Pennington just needs to keep it safe, keep it sensible, and hold on to that 7th place, which I think he's going to do. And unfortunately, the gap at the top hasn't really come down. They've basically been toe-to-toe, has Salomon and Christensen, but unfortunately that means that they've basically been nose to tail and not really had an overtaking opportunity from either of them. And, well, Gabriel Salomon lost out last week at Sparta, Christensen. This time it's the other way around, with Salomon winning ahead of the Norwegian. And this is the battle for 4th. It's continuing all the way to the end of the race. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Who's going to get 4th place? Goddestad or Nold? It's Goddestad by about half a tenth. He finally managed to do it after 18 minutes of pure hard racing, and Nold will be a little bit disappointed with that, but that was good effort from Goddestad. He didn't give up, got into 4th place, and wow, that was a great finish there. And Salomon finally happy to be back onto the top step of the podium. And well, that A final was a complete polar opposite to what we were expecting. And I just remembered, Sam, we forgot to do our predictions.
Oh, but yeah, it's odd actually because I was thinking I reckon Salomon, Christensen, Thompson, and Goddestad will finish in the top 4. So, in my eyes, I'm a winner. So yeah, pretty good call there from myself. And feel free to send me some waffles whenever you like, Karen. Let's. I wonder if you get a replay actually of that last lap move from Christensen, and it seemed like the only way he was ever going to. Or maybe not Christensen, apologies. I got a stat on Nolder. It seemed like the only way he was ever going to beat him was by half a tenth on the line because he could never actually stay ahead. It was just a case that maybe he could briefly get his nose ahead, and it was clearly a good run on the back straight. Such respectful racing. I mean, probably the best racing I think we've seen this season between any drivers. Always space being left. And Goddestad, just with that wider line, it gave him a better exit and won by half a tenth.
Well, it was a very risky move, and we've not really seen that outside line work, really, this race. And, well, he risked it, and well, it really paid off for him and managed to get a few more points ahead of Nold. And it's been a tough season for Nicholas Nold. He had a couple opportunities in the first few rounds to win a few races, but Salomon was always there to just disappoint him a little bit. But he's just slipped back a little bit, has Nicholas Nold, but still finishing well in 5th. And Pennington as well, making that AM Championship very interesting. And yeah, 2 rounds to go, and I think it's very unpredictable what can happen in that Pro-Am Championship.
Yeah, that's the one that we're going to be keeping our eyes on the most parts. But let's have a look at these final results for this A final. Salomon up ahead of Christensen. Another race win, but it's really great just how good Christensen's form has been. I think he's had a 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the last 3 rounds. Thompson in 3rd place, just didn't quite have the qualifying. Actually just dropped off a little bit at the end, but I think that was probably just a mistake. Goddestad way behind in the end. They were battling so hard, but that'll be a very satisfying 4th place, especially considering they got the pole position earlier on, was the favourite to maybe win the whole evening, but had a poor start in his heats and was on the comeback after that. Nolder beat Key. Pennington did lose out to Key, so he lost a couple of points there, but it's still a great result for him. Hammer in 8th place against Lazarus. Quatchup, Wolfson, Herford, Hersaug, Pedersen, Bjorkland did beat Marshall, so top of the AM drivers. I think Nick Corn was saying may have had damage. Voss got back out on circuit and finished in 17th. Then it was Jensen who was involved in that big crash midway around the lap. Madsen in 19th, and Luis Balicki, who collided actually with Madsen on lap 1, also retiring from the race. Let's get some interviews with the drivers who has come up to have a chat. A few drivers. Aaron, I'll let you have first dibs.
I am very thankful of that because I'd really like to talk to Gabriel Salomon, of course, your race winner today. Gabriel, I mean, it looked pretty dominant. I know you only finished 3/10 of Christensen, but it didn't really look like he was going to overtake you at any point. And to add on to that, I bet it feels good to get a little bit of revenge after last week.
Definitely. I mean, it's about goddamn time that I'm in the 1st place spot again. It's been a while. But yeah, no, I mean, the start, it was perfect. Nick Madsen, you know, with his habit of sending some pretty crazy dives, he did that once again on lap 1, and then I had that 1 second lead, and then like the first like half of the race, I was really just like saving tires, like really like saving them and making sure that I didn't like flick out my rear once, so I knew that at the end I'd be, you know, super fast and I'd be really like consistent. That's also why if you like look at the timing sheet, I set my 3 fastest laps on the 3rd to last lap, 2nd to last lap, and the last lap. So, you know, I knew that he was getting close, but I wasn't really scared because, you know, I'd saved so much tires, that it wouldn't really be a problem.
Yeah, and I also think having track position is such an important thing around here, as We saw it took Godestad pretty much the entire race to get past Nicholas Knoll. A whole 18 minutes. It's a surprisingly difficult track to overtake. You wouldn't think of it, just looking at the track layout. And just how difficult was it out there to follow other cars and try to overtake?
I mean, I've been doing some officials this week, and the straight, like the back straight, seems like somewhere where people will get past all the time, but fact is just it's pretty hard to overtake there. You don't get as much slipstream as you think you do in these cars down that straight, and you either like on this track really have to like set up a good move or go for like a dive that's gonna lose you and your opponent a lot of time. So it's definitely it's a hard track to overtake on, and in general it was a really hard track as well.
Yeah, it looked like a tough job out there for everyone today. And well, we head to another American track next week, Road America, which is kind of the polar opposite to this track in every way. Similar in length, but yeah, just a slipstream fest, really. And it's going to be very, very difficult to fight up at the front next week, isn't it?
Definitely. I think, like we saw at Spa, if there's teammate up in the top of Road America, it's definitely going to be harder for people with, who doesn't have a teammate up there, because as you said, it's so much slipstream. The thing about Road America that's different to what we saw at Spa is like Spa is just like a lot of straights, a little bit of corners, another straight, and the corner, long straight. Where Road America, it's like the long straight, and then you have like a lot of super technical parts, especially the long sweeping right-hander in the middle of the track. It's really hard to hit that like perfectly. So I also think that people who's going to be practicing that track, the officials, they're definitely going to have an advantage because it's not an easy track to hit spot on.
Yeah, definitely. Road America is usually quite close between everyone, but it's difficult to find those extra few tenths. But it's very good for racing, so looking very much forward to Road America and Imola as well, the final round. That's going to be very interesting. But yeah, congratulations, Gabriel. It was another really good win from you. And anyone you want to give a shout out to for this race win?
Definitely. I'd like to thank Oten Motorsports, and then I'd like to thank you guys joining me in another win, thankfully, once again. And then last time I said I wanted to thank some drivers, and I would actually like to thank one in particular, which is Nicholas Knoll. Even though we've been, championship rivals throughout almost the entire, throughout the entire season. We really been able to communicate well, and help each other out with setups, what to do, tips and tricks, and really I've made a very good friend in him, and it's been such a pleasure being able to find those last tenths in setup and tips that we gave each other.
Well, I think if you'll be able to become friends with a championship rival, that's top quality sportsmanship. You don't see that happening in Formula One too often. I don't think Verstappen and Hamilton will be sending each other setup tips anytime soon. But thank you for coming and talking with us, Salomon, and congrats on another win, and looking very good for you in the Pro Championship.
Yeah, thank you. It's always a pleasure talking with you guys. You guys have a good one.
You too, man.
We also have the, by the way, update on the championship. We got done the points. It wasn't as bad for Kos as what we were thinking. We thought it was bad news for Igor Kos, but actually, he is still championship leader by 3 points going into the next round.
Ooh.
So 591 versus 588. So yes, that's the difference between them. Let's have a chat with a couple of our Apex Racing Academy drivers. We'll drag them both up. Patrick Thompson and Lewis Balicki join us now. Congratulations, guys, particularly yourself, Patrick. I mean, first off, we'll head to you. And a good race pace out there. I mean, it seemed like qualifying maybe that a little bit was left on the table, but it seemed like particularly when it came to that A final, you were absolutely pushing Salomon and Christensen all the way.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the race pace I would have wanted to have myself personally. It was good, but with Daytona coming up, there's been most of the time practicing has been put towards that, and today I found it just a bit too much of a struggle getting back into the Porsche Cup and getting up to pace. So I'm pretty pleased with ending up where I did after all.
And of course, there was a disappointing race for yourself, Luis. Looked like potentially quite a fun race to be able to make up some places, but then there was that instant on lap 1. Take us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the quali pace that I wanted to. I mean, I had pretty much the same amount of practice as Patrick, and getting used to a different car that I'm driving for Daytona, and then coming back in the Porsche was quite difficult for me. So I was quite happy that I was able to finish P4 in the heat race, and I was like, okay, let's just see how the show goes. And sadly there was an incident with Nick, who had contact with Hammer, I believe, and I thought I could make it to the left, but I wasn't also aware how much space I had to go to the left, so I didn't want to fully swoop over to the left, and since his car was rotating to the right, I thought I could managed to pass him there, but then his car slingshotted back to the left and sadly collected me, but at least I didn't collect anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, that whole sort of incident with it just seemed like contact was going on constantly, and it was waiting to erupt, and unfortunately you were the one who was spat out and sort of had the worst of it. But I mean, looking ahead to this weekend, of course, Daytona, how are you feeling about that one, Luis? I mean, of course, you can't drive the Porsche Cup, unfortunately, so how have you been finding adapting to other machinery?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult for me since I basically only drive the Porsche Cup, but I think we did quite a good job so far in getting up to speed with the car that we will be driving for the Daytona, and I think we will be competitive, and at least I hope so.
Absolutely, and of course, Patrick, you'll be heading to the Sim Centre. You excited about Daytona 24 and your first special event with Apex?
I mean, obviously, just having the opportunity to drive for a team such as Apex in general, for whatever it may be, is a privilege. But getting to have the chance to also head over to the Sim Center and drive from their house, I mean, it's going to be an amazing experience. And I also think that the atmosphere is probably gonna give you some sort of boost, because when you feel the good vibes and everyone is having fun, then you just sort of get in the rhythm much better. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Definitely. It'll be great to have you along. I'll let you both say any thanks you'd like to anyone who's supported you for this race. I'll let you go first, Luis.
I mean, thanks for Apex for letting us in the team and driving for them and representing them. Kind of a shame that I had a small shunt, and thanks for Patrick for always being in the races there and just having some fun with me in the races, otherwise it would be quite boring.
And Patrick, anyone you wanted to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, as per usual, the team, you guys broadcasting, I mean, don't tell David this, but you're definitely the best one on the late Apex.
Yes, yes. This is going over social media.
Who paid you, Patrick?
But in all seriousness, just thank you all for putting on this great show, and thanks to all the guys behind putting the broadcast together. It's a privilege getting out there on track and putting on a show for everyone who watches along. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. I'll transfer that 50 quid over later today. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and see you back next time.
See you around.
Luis Balicki there and Patrick Thompson finishing in, both getting into the A final. Thompson in third and Balicki, unfortunately, after that crash, finishing in 20th place. That's it for us, Aaron. I mean, a quick word now on Road America. I think, you know, you've already discussed it a little bit with Gabriel, and you know, yeah, I think you made a good point in terms of it returning a bit more to the Spa vein, where more long straights, perhaps the biggest slipstream circuit we have all season.
Yeah, that and Spa, definitely huge slipstream tracks, and it's going to be similar in qualifying to what we saw at Spa. And I think the race, like Gabriel said, is going to be a bit different, with pretty much the second and kind of third parts of the track being very technical and not the easiest to follow. But lap 1, possibly lap 2, and that first sector in general is going to be, well, interesting to say the least, especially during a heat format. I would have really enjoyed to see a 60-minute race at Road America. That would have been something to behold. But either way, it's going to be fantastic for racing, and I think your ego has just skyrocketed, by the way. That's a massive ego boost for you, Sam.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm remarkably arrogant, and so it's worrying the levels of arrogance that I'm getting to the points of. So yeah, we'll see about that one next week. You may sound very different, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. And of course, Road America next week will be a fantastic penultimate round of the championship, and of course that Pro-Am title fight. So many match alive, and also the teams championship fights as well, very much alive as well. Thanks once again to SDK Gaming, to VRS, and to Apex Racing Academy for sponsoring and supporting this broadcast and the championship as a whole. If you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel, and also check out our social media platforms as well on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, because we post extra content. That's both the Apex Racing TV and the Apex Racing League social media accounts on that. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Aaron Smith, and from Joshua Wilkie, we are going to say goodbye for now, and we'll see you back for round 9 of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup next week at Road America. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.